John chapter 9. On his way, Jesus noticed a man who was born blind, and his followers asked him, "Master, whose sin is responsible for this man's condition? Is he punished for his own sins or perhaps for his parents? Why was he born blind?" Jesus answered emphatically, "His condition has absolutely nothing to do with any sins committed either by himself or his parents. Neither him nor his parents were guilty of sin. This is an opportunity for God's action to be unveiled to him. We together must occupy ourselves to accomplish the work of him who sent me. You must take sides with me. I must do the works of him. The repeated presence of my I amness in the world is the light of the world. I am the light of the cosmos." Having said that, he spat on the ground and made clay with the spittle. Then he anointed the eyes of the blind man with clay. And he said to him, "Go and wash in the pool of Siloam." The Hebrew word means outflow. The man went there, he washed, and returned, seeing perfectly. The people in the neighborhood and those who knew him before said, "Is this not the man born blind, the beggar?" Some agreed while others doubted. But then he said, "Yes, I am." So they asked him, "How did it happen that you received your sight?" He answered, "A man named Jesus made clay and smeared it over my eyes and said to me, 'Go to Siloam and wash.' So I went there and washed, and I looked up." They wanted to know where Jesus was, but the man did not know. Then they took him to the Pharisees, since it was the Sabbath, when Jesus made clay and opened his eyes. The Pharisees demanded to know exactly how it happened that he received his sight. He said, "He put clay in my eyes, and I washed, and now I see." The Pharisees were divided in their opinion. Some of them immediately said, "This man cannot be closely associated with God, since he does not honor the Sabbath," while others questioned, "How can someone who is an obvious sinner according to our law do such miracles?" Then they asked the blind man, "So what do you say about this man who opened your eyes?" He said that he thinks Jesus is a prophet. The Jews then began to doubt whether he was blind after all, so they addressed his parents. "Is this your son who you say was born blind? How is it now that he sees?" The parents said, "Of course we know that this is our son, and he was indeed born blind. But how it is that he now sees and who opened his eyes, we have no idea. He is a grown boy. Why don't you ask him for yourself?" They chose their words carefully for fear of offending the Jews, since it was rumored that the Jewish leadership agreed to ban anyone from the synagogue should they confess Jesus to be the Christ. For this reason, the parents didn't want to commit themselves to an opinion, but shifted the attention back to the boy himself, saying that he is of age and should be able to speak for himself. Then they again called the man who was blind and said to him, "Give God glory and agree with us that this man is a Sabbath breaker and a sinner." And he said, "I cannot say whether he is a sinner or not, but one thing I do know is that once I was blind, but now I see." They wanted to hear it again, so they asked him, "So what did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He said, "But I have already told you, and you're not hearing me. Why do you want to hear it again? Are you perhaps also desiring to become his followers?" They scorned him and accused him to be a Jesus disciple. "We're disciples of Moses. We know that God communicated with Moses, but who can tell where this guy's from?" The man answered them, "I'm amazed. You just cannot see this. How can you not perceive where he's from? I mean, hello, he opened my eyes. Are we not supposed to know that sinners don't dictate to God? But those who worship God and desires to perform his delight has a quote-unquote hotline to heaven. Since the beginning of time, no one has ever heard of anyone who opened the eyes of a blind man. If this is not proof of this man's close acquaintance with God, then what is? He would be powerless to perform anything on his own." And they replied, "You were born in utter sin, and here you are trying to teach us." and they cast him out. Jesus heard that they cast him out and went looking for him. When he found him, he asked him, "Do you believe in the Son of God?" He answered, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" And Jesus said, "You have seen him, and he is speaking to you." And he said, "Lord, I believe." And he worshipped him. I have come to judge the world's blindness, so that they who are blind may see, and those who think they see may become blind. Some of the Pharisees overheard him saying this and said, "So are we also blind?" Jesus said, "If you were blind, you would have no sin. But now you say you see, and your sin continues."